This is Leah Sparks. This is for the third showcase, Technology for Enhancement. I chose to use Google Classroom just because I've never used it and I thought it would be nice to learn how to use a website that I've never used that online learning is held. So this is what the main page of the Google Classroom looks like, and you can see right here, if you click on that, this is where the students would see the stream of the whole class, and right here is the class code so the students can get on to this class. So just right here I have an announcement saying like this is the start, this week starts our narrative writing unit, and then for them to go under the classwork to see all the unit's content. So if we go to the classwork, here is the narrative writing unit, and it is laid out in the order that I would want the students to complete it. So you have the introduction, which just tells them what, like an overview of what's going to be happening in the learning outcomes. And then this is the first thing that they would need to do. It's just a video on the structure of a narrative story. So they would click that and then it would go to YouTube. And then here's another one just on brainstorming a narrative story. And then after they do this, they would take a quiz on brainstorming for a narrative story. And I said use this as a way to brainstorm for your own narrative story. And then they can see right here that it's due April 19th. And then also you can see how many have turned it in and how many it's assigned to. Obviously, right now it's 0 because I don't have anyone in it. But they would just click on this, and then it would go to like a forum, and then right here is where they would type in their answer, and they can see how much each question is worth. So it would be 25 points altogether. And then right here is the other technology in this unit. So I would assume that we would meet at like a class time over Zoom or something. So then we would play the Kahoot game over the structure of a narrative story. And I said the top 3 will receive extra credit. And then they can also click that. So when it's time to actually do it, they can just enter the game pin and they won't have to go to the website themselves. And then right here I have some examples of narrative stories. So they would just click this and it would come to this document, and then it'll load. Yeah, and then they can just read this, and there's another one down here just to help them get some inspiration for the narrative story they might write, and to just show some examples of a narrative story. And then here is the write your own narrative story. So they can see that it's due April 23rd. And then it has all the directions that I put on there. So use the story from your brainstorm quiz to write your own narrative story, and then go to Storybird and take a look at the website, and then choose the medium to make their story. So a picture book, long form story, comic book, or flash fiction. And then use their creativity to create your exciting story. And then their story can be fiction or nonfiction. The main part is that they just include all the correct structuring while writing the story. And then they can click this and it'll take them directly to where they need to be, where they sign up and then write their own story. So altogether, I thought that the Google Classroom was pretty easy to navigate. Right here you can see create, and there's a bunch of different types of posts. So the material is just for like an overview, or I also use that for the introduction and then the videos and just any other information. And then the quizzes, that uses the Google Forums. And what's nice about that is that you can You can change what kind of, there's a bunch of different question types, and then you can also do the answer key, change how many points it is, and then click the right answer, so then when they submit it, it'll be automatically graded for you, and that's good for them as well. They can get their grade automatically and then know what they need to work on. And then for the just normal assignment, this is what I had like the Storybird under, and you can do as many points as you want, do the due date, and then you put it under the topic. That's how you get that, like the specific unit. And then you can also add a rubric. And then right here is where you would add a link or a file or a YouTube video, and then you could also choose one of these to add something on there. And then up here is where you would see the people, all your students, and then the grades for all your students. And then you can also just pose a question, and then the students can reply to each other, and then they can edit their answer if that's what you want to do. So it's just like a mini test, I'd say. Alright. So for the UDL guidelines that were met through Google Classroom is guideline number 8, sustaining effort and persistence. I think the Google Classroom guides students through the goals of the unit, gives resources, and gives feedback, but that's also kind of relied on the teacher for them to know the goals and give the resources. So the teacher also has to put in some effort to meet this guideline. And then the guideline 9, it meets self-regulation. It allows the students to go through the unit at their own pace and allows the students to reflect on their own work and self-assess themselves. So especially for the quizzes and the questions, the students will know whether they got it right or not, and then if they got something wrong, they can go back and assess what they did wrong. And they can also move through it at their own pace, just make sure that they get it finished on time. Right. And then the ISTE standards, they're empowered learner. It allows students to show their knowledge throughout the unit. So with the Kahoot and the Storybird and also the little quizzes, that allows the students to show their knowledge that they've learned. And then Knowledge Constructor, it allows students to use a variety of mediums to construct their knowledge and create things using their knowledge. So they would learn it through the Google Classroom and then use an outside source to show, not necessarily, they would use their outside source to, so for example, the Storybird, that's how they could show their creativity of using their knowledge. But also the different mediums within Google Classroom, like the question and answer and the quizzes, they can show their knowledge through there. And then Digital Citizen, it shows the students how to be an online student. So if it's like their first time being an online student, I think Google Classroom allows the student to learn how to be an online student while also learning the subject.